Over 15 years ago, this map was cut from Counter-Strike, and now it is back to be played again. I give you DE HANKAGAI. The map DE HANKAGAI was developed by Eric Doscher when Gearbox Software was in charge of the development of Counter-Strike Condition Zero around the year 2002. The map was prominently featured by the media with multiple released screenshots and video coverage. The map was considered to be the most beautiful map in the game by German PC Games magazine, and indeed, it is visually stunning compared to what we had for Counter-Strike at the time. Compare this to the old Dust 2 or Inferno. This looks amazing in comparison. Not only detail-wise, but also the setting was fresh and new.
And even the Far East in Asian territories, and that's really exciting because it's kind of new environments for us.
A downtown area of a Japanese city was a novelty back then, and still is today, with recent Mapcore contest competitors being the closest thing to it as far as I know. And well, that of course excludes the South Korean Counter-Strike spin-offs by Nexon. The map features two bomb sites, one in what was called the main shopping area, in front of the entrance to a shopping center, and the other bomb site was located at, well, I don't know. So I had to assume. The location of the second bomb site was made up by me, since it was not shown in any of the preview material. Sadly, the guys from Gearbox were not allowed to send me more material, but, well, I had to work with what was released back then. So let this be our segue into the making of part of this video. Compared to most other maps of the time, the map made extensive use of the world prop model support and new particle emitters that had been added into Counter-Strike Condition Zero, something that I found to be rather hard to recreate today, since the entities that Gearbox introduced for this purpose are not included in the gold source version used by Modern 1.6 or Condition Zero. Only the engine version used in Counter-Strike Condition Zero deleted scenes and the Half-Life PlayStation 2 port include these entities. To be specific, it is the item generic, something similar to the source engine's prop static. Since this entity is missing, I had to work with cyclers or cycler sprites. The one has no collision and the other one starts to bleed when you shoot it. So it's a gamble when to use which. Because it is rather ridiculous when your air conditioner suddenly starts to bleed when you shoot it. When Ritual Entertainment took over the development of Counter-Strike Condition Zero, the multiplayer version of HANKAGAI was presumably scrapped. But not before porting it over to the Xbox and adding even more details to that version. These shops seen in the background here were added after the PC version was showcased by German PC Games magazine. Ultimately, the map had a sad fate. As regular viewers of this channel will be familiar with the development history of Condition Zero, we know that, as the game got passed around from one development team to another, more and more of the original plans were scrapped. DE HANKAGAI fell victim to this as well. However, most of the map geometry was reused in a linear single-player mission with the same name for Counter-Strike Condition Zero deleted scenes. This single-player mission was most likely based off the Xbox version of HANKAGAI, as the shops seen in the promotional screenshots of Xbox Counter-Strike's version of DE HANKAGAI are present in the single-player mission today. The single-player mission was the closest that we ever got to an official release of DE HANKAGAI. Well, it's not DE HANKAGAI anymore, but that is where I came in. In my attempt of remaking as many cut maps as possible, this map was a logical sequel to my remakes of CS Damage and DE Silo. And unlike Silo, HANKAGAI was covered extensively, so I had a lot of reference material to use. Sadly, some significant places were never shown, such as the previously mentioned entirety of the bomb site B, but also the CT spawn and several pathways connecting these places were never seen in videos or screenshots. I had to recreate them using my imagination, so I hope that my creations hold up to what the original creators had in mind. In the areas that were not seen in the previews, I took the liberty of adding some details that might have not been there in the original, but they make it easier to learn the map as they serve as some more unique landmarks, such as this advertisement and trash can, as well as this telephone and doorway. The entire map is dominated by the brightly lit catwalk that oversees the main shopping area, aka Bomb Site A. This catwalk functions as a quick rotation route between bomb sites A and B and as an access route for terrorists if they manage to secure the stairway leading up to it on the far side of the map. Just like with the last two remakes, I started by decompiling the Condition Zero deleted scene single-player mission and deleted all faulty brushes. This cleaning up process takes up to a few days, as the gold source map decompiles are relatively inaccurate compared to decompiled source engine maps. Completely broken brushes are no uncommon sight, and even though I try to fix as much as I can, these maps will never be as optimized as the original was. Therefore, they will never run as smooth as they were supposed to be. Then, on the other hand, modern computers should have no problem with that. If you are still running your Counter-Strike 1.6 on an early 2000s rig, you may run into some trouble, although props for being old school. After the geometry issues were fixed and the map took its shape, I took a careful look at all the reference screenshots I had to recreate the texture work as accurate as possible. I looked through all the texture files available if there's any missing texture in there, because some of the textures used by the original Gearbox version are missing from the single-player HANKAGAI. Such as this sign. I decided to rip it from a screenshot, and although it is not as good looking as I want it to be, well, just don't stare at it too long, you won't notice. You wouldn't notice if I hadn't told you, admit it. While going through the texture files, I also came across something interesting: fake reflections. It is a well-known fact that the good old Gold Source engine does not include reflections, okay? Some custom renderers do, but not the original one. In the original version of HANKAGAI, they employed fake reflections. They simply painted the reflection of the city or fluorescent lights onto the glass. It's a really cool idea, it just takes a while to get it aligned properly. At that point, I noticed that the promotional screenshots show different versions of the map. We are taking a look at these vending machines as an example. In early versions, they all use this white texture. Later versions of the map use a variety of textures designed after actual Japanese vending machines. The version that I tried to recreate is the version presented by PC Games Magazine in 2003, from when I first heard of the map. Back then I got pretty excited about it. Another feature of this map that took a long time to implement was the fake 3D skybox. Games like CSS and CSGO use a miniature version of the non-playable area to make the world appear larger than it is. You could call it a 16 times smaller model of the outside world. Why use a scaled down version? Well, to save resources. Furthermore, it enables you to create the illusion of a far bigger world than the game is actually able to display. This scene from Titanfall 2 is a great example for the use of 3D skyboxes, and yes, this runs on the good old Source engine. The Gold Source engine, the Half-Life 1 engine, is not capable of doing this. So how were these skyscrapers put in place? The buildings you see in the background of HANKAGAI are actually one gigantic model, which's point of origin is located directly above the main shopping area. Even smaller models can be a big hassle in this old engine. See this tree? This tree gave me headaches so often because as I changed one little thing on the map, it suddenly disappeared for seemingly no reason. Getting these buildings to work properly and not to pop in and out of sight was time-consuming work. But after several months of work and several seasons worth of TV shows, it was finally done. I would dare to say, visually an extraordinary map for 1.6 standards. Gameplay-wise, it is somewhat unusual, narrow corridors leading into big open areas. For modern competitive play, probably not too useful, but for playing with friends it is great fun, as this plays radically different compared to the likes of Dust 2. The map has a certain verticality to it, which is unusual to most players, but once you get used to it, it is a good map to play. Expect to be confused at first. The map's layout is uncommon. Maybe this is one of the reasons why the map was scrapped. Although talking to several people who worked on Condition Zero maps for Gearbox software back in 2001, they all assured me that the maps were highly balanced. So it may be just an issue with my remakes, or it was just marketing speak from back then. Who knows? But I'd be willing to believe them. If I may give you some advice for playing this map, whoever controls the high ground usually wins. But don't feel too safe. The walls on the catwalk are paper thin. You will find a download link to this map and several more that I worked on, like my Blocktober project, in the video description down below. Download the file, unpack it, and move it into your Counter-Strike folder. Then play it for yourself in Condition Zero with bots, or move it into your C-Strike folder for 1.6 and head over to the new ESCalation cut content server. The server IP is in the description down below. Just be sure to download the map pack before you connect, as the in-game download would probably take very long otherwise, and it would probably crash. I'm telling you from experience, download the map pack first, install it, and then connect to the server. And while you are at it, you may join the ESCalation Discord server to have a chat while playing. Mite kurite arigato. Google Translator. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope even more that you will enjoy DE HANKAGAI. I put a lot of time into that project, so I hope it was worth it. So I hope to see you guys on the cut content server and maybe speak to you on Discord while trying out this new map online. Special thanks goes out to all the supporters on Patreon who of course got to see this video first, and thanks to them, the cut content server is up and running. See you guys next time. Until then, have a nice day and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.